Hello everyone. Tonight I wanted to talk about how to handle difficult or crucial conversation. I have 3 tips or more, but at least 3. So I thought that it would be a good title. Yesterday night I was in a midst of a lot of different things. I think it was around 8 o'clock. I have lots of things to do and my mind is filled with, projects in my mind and worries a little bit, and at the same I'm managing all of that. And then I received a call from a dear friend of mine and we're talking about a project. And she was asking me a question about, how we can insert that in a program or something and during the project. And in my mind, in my own perspective, it came out of nowhere. It was kind of a curveball. And my first reaction is that I was a bit upset, I'm like, and at the same time, I'm trying to calm down and just really understand where it's coming from. So talking about one of the first thing I think that's important when you do have that crucial conversation is making sure that when you have that crucial conversation, you're doing it in a very good environment. Meaning, if you're tired, if you're stressed out, if you're overwhelmed, might not be the right time to discuss about these things. So what ended up happening is that we started the conversation, and at one point I said, you know what, I need some space to think about the whole thing, and let's just take the time to talk tomorrow. So today she called, my friend, and I love her, and it was not the right time again, because I thought it was just a 5 minutes conversation, but at the end a lot of things started to emerge, and I'm like, that's not gonna be 5 minutes. And I had another appointment right after, so I didn't want to rush it. And so that's very important. I think that either with your relationships, with your boss, with your friends, that when that emotion is inside you, that's probably the worst moment to really have a good conversation about something that's crucial and difficult. So we decided to postpone it, and we postponed it around 6 p.m. tonight. And it was great. It was a long conversation, and we put everything on a table, and we pretty much fixed everything. We came to an agreement. It was awesome. And I think that one of the most important things when you start these conversations is to always think that the outcome out of it will be positive. And even if it's really, really difficult, even if maybe a business partnership will end, or if it's a relationship, a breakup, something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, there's always a reason why these conversations are happening. One, it's to all the expectations that were never laid out, they're laid out all of a sudden. You start to understand what's the perspective from the other person. And when you really think that this actually is a good thing, you don't perceive the crucial conversation or the difficult conversation as really bad. I think for me lately, if I look back at the last 2 months, I've done a lot of work on myself. Every time that I was taking some space or giving space to another person, because you're like, ooh, I don't think it's the time for me to talk about this. It seems a little bit sensitive, and it's always like you just touch the oven and it's super hot. It's not the time to really engage in, what do you want to eat tonight? I just got burned. It's not a good timing. So first of all, I think is really giving some space, making sure that the environment is proper and you spend the time to really talk about these things. Because sometimes it's done in a rush. And I think that when it's done in a rush, it's not really, it's still good on the surface, but there are deeper stuff that needs to be addressed. And that's always going to resurface until you really set the table for taking the time to slow down and do it. The other thing that I think is important is while you have that conversation is to always assume that the other party is acting out of their heart. They're not there to hurt you. They're not there to gain more power, maybe sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you assume that the other party is doing it with a good intention, that's always going to help all the time. I think, you have 2 choices. You can say, well, this person's always mean and never good, so this is going to be bad, or this person wants to take advantage of me. Well, you can choose that, but I don't think there's a lot of good upsides and good benefits to think this way. And if that's the case, and if that person's always like that, maybe that's a good conversation to add and end the relationship. You know what I mean? So that's the second thing. And the third thing, which is also very important, is that when it starts to be a little bit heated, if that comes, to me, I try to put the emotions always on the side. And that's what I do in real estate. That's what I do by coaching clients or speaking to my loved ones. You put the emotions on the side because it's just facts. You're talking about different events, and then you tell and you name your emotion on that without really reliving the emotion, but you're like, I felt hurt at that moment and I didn't feel heard, or I felt that I didn't feel that you were really thinking about me, or I felt that you were taking advantage, whatever it is. And that's very important, that when you say these things, there's no judgment. That's how you felt. This is not the reality. It's just how you felt. And when you have a conversation with someone on the other side that does the same thing, it's so cool. It's so cool because now it's almost like you're in a lab and you're looking at not the argument, but the person. You're like, oh, I didn't see it this way. That's interesting. And then you don't take things personal. Very important. To me, that's one of the most important things. Because imagine, like, if the other person, look, I mean, let's say the other person has, those glasses. They look at you. That's how they look at you. That's how they define you. They're like, well, you seem to be a little bit dark all the time to me. Is that true? Or is that their lens? If my lens are blue and their lens are pink, they're going to see me pink. And if I get offended because I get called pink, I say, what do you mean I'm pink? I am blue. It's not even important. What they think is their own reality. What you choose could be to be upset that you think that they think you're pink while you know really that you're blue. And when I say that, think about the times when you feel that you feel not good enough, and they point at you things that might trigger you, and you haven't done your job well. And if you really think that's true, that you haven't done your job well, that might trigger you. But then that's a choice, because that might not be true. So if you, in your heart, know that you've done everything you can, you've done your best, then it doesn't matter what they say, because you know you better than anybody else, and you don't need to listen to what they say. Which is funny because it's a little bit in line with what I talked about yesterday, the noise that we hear, and is that really true, and the facts. Anyway, you can watch that if you want to. But I thought that these elements, this is something that I'm like, I think I'm getting better and better with crucial conversations, because one, I don't take things personal. Two, I always think that when there's a breakdown, there's going to be a breakthrough. So that's something that wants to emerge. And sometimes at the end of the day, even if it looks negative and the relationship ends, that's probably for a good thing. Actually, my friend, she had that conversation with other people before. It was in business, and the business changed, and now it's for the best. Like, somebody left, and that's awesome. Now they're growing their business crazy, and that was a crucial conversation they had. And it's just so beautiful. The other thing, like I said, set it up in a right environment. So leave some space. Might not be the right timing, out the door or whatever. Probably not. Like, you need to sit down and spend the time, because how important is that relationship with you? If that's a very important relationship, you're going to take the time to sit down and fix it at the right time by giving some space to you or to the person you're talking to. So I hope that this conversation has helped you. Next time you're in a difficult or crucial conversation, remember to give some space, sitting up in a right environment, thinking that, hey, this is maybe not good, but there's something great out of it that's going to happen. There's a great outcome. So breakdown to breakthrough. And don't take things personal. What they say has nothing to do with you. You choose what you want to be and who you want to become. So on that note, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night, day, or, I don't know, morning. Have fun.